Hello, and this is my final project, the Data Action Plan by Kenneth Washington. The Data Action Plan overview. I'm a non-practicing teacher. I had two other teachers, actual practicing teachers in my group. Um, but I chose Amber Cadet class, fourth grade reading class. 13 males, 7 girls. Common Core standard is right there, as stated, determining the theme of the text. That was her SMART goal, and that is the quarter 1 literacy assessment is her um, evaluation metric. So, data meeting 1. When we first got together, this is all new to all of us, especially me. I'm not a teacher, so I didn't understand any of this. Following what we read in Vernables, data meeting 1 was supposed to be reviewing the existing data and developing the notice and wonder statements and exploratory questions. And I think that's what we did. So for Amber's class, this was the existing data. Fourth grade, right here. Basically, she wanted to move some of the yellow to the green, some of the yellow to the green, 60% of it to get into the 70% tile range. So these are our notice and wonder statements, along with the exploratory questions that each of us came up with. We both came up with 2 notice statements, 2 wonder statements, and each came up with an exploratory question. Then we moved to data meeting 2, where we were triangulating the data with the artifact tracking sheet. Here's the exploratory question. What we have here is the all her artifacts lined up, the parks data table, the assessment calendar, the assessment alignment, quarterly assessment, the worksheet, essay, lesson plans, and we decided which one was which, where the the park data table and the assessment calendar and the assessment alignment, there were instructional gaps, and then the next 3 were learning gaps. So, we gave a 5 to each of those for the relative significance and prominence. And then the lesson plan was instructional gap because the state controls the lesson plan. So then we moved to data meeting 3, when we were determining the gaps and goals of the data action plan. So, came up with the SMART goal. SMART goal, after looking at all the assessments and exploratory question, prioritize the learning gaps and the instructional gaps, and we came up with the SMART goal, where by the end of quarter 1, 60% of the students will score 70 or higher on the quarter 1 literacy exam. And like stated before, that the evaluation metric is the quarter 1 literacy assessment. Then we move to data meeting number 4, which is the actual action plan. and it's a little off. Hold on. Alright, so data meeting 4, the action plan. So this is the action plan tracking sheet. So basically we took some of the things that she uses and this was her action plan to go into getting the students to do better on the Q1 literacy exam. We also have her planning protocols as opposed to the her SMART goals, and highlighted in red is one of the activities that she was doing, reading A to Z, and one of the protocols, and the main highlights are in red. This is the second planning protocol. As opposed to a SMART goal. And this item was the task generation model, the TGM. And also the highlights in the red. Planning protocol. These meetings, roughly all the meetings from meeting 1 to 4 lasted about an hour and a half. And we talked a lot about how to decipher the data and figure it out and everything. And me not being a teacher, I didn't understand it. I started to understand little by little in each data meeting before we move to the first implementation meeting, which is the next slide. So we come to the first implementation meeting, and this is where everything went different. The practicing teachers got to implement their data action plan in their classrooms, and me being a non-practicing teacher, we had to pick articles, which I had to dissect and put in the Diigo, and we used those strategies within the articles to further the action plan that we had come up with in doing our data meeting plans. So during the implementation meetings 1, 2, 3, and 4, after coming back and implementing, Amber revised her data action plan from the previous one, and her SMART goal changed. It went from 60% of her students scoring 70% on the test to 80%. That's what she wanted her SMART goal to change to. So based on the activities, she thought her students would score higher than originally she thought. She believed that her students would score higher than what she thought. And a few things changed with her revised plan. So then we go to data meeting 5, which was the evaluation of the process. So basically now we have the final assessment data, and her students fell a little short on the data. A little short on the assessment. So she didn't meet the standard that she had set as far as her SMART goal. So, to me, it was a learning experience. To her, it was a learning experience. I know to Angela, it was a learning experience as far as her class. So the insights. The The insights for the data action plan was a great way to learn, to understand, and to manipulate the data, because you can manipulate the data if a teacher really wanted to. Allows you to evaluate where the students need help. Also allows you to evaluate the learning and instructional gaps. Strengths that I believe that it gave me was the ability to reflect and give back to the participating teachers, in order for them to work more effectively and efficiently, to share the data and ideas to close their instructional and learning gaps. And it works vice versa. They gave me insight on how teaching is if I decided to go into a teaching professional field, and how it would be for me, because they're teachers and I'm not. So it was a pretty humbling experience. I think I understand data a little bit more. I understand what teachers go through a little bit more. I understand the teaching aspect and how they have to look at the data and figure out what they have to do to help their kids learn. Also, going forward as far as the growth, use the data action plan and use the correct protocols, because in implementation 1 through 4, our group used the wrong protocols, and we had to go back and change everything and redo it and try to get our data to match the right protocols, and we did do that. And so if you use the wrong protocols, then it won't work out as much as you think it would. But using the correct protocols in significant meetings, when you're in school or whatever, would be very engaging and vital to the success of the data action plan. And that is it. That is the conclusion of my presentation.